Com, for what it's worth, in my legal opinion, this is so devastating to the prosecution case in the Michael Jackson affair that I cannot see how a fair trial can possibly result in a conviction of that man. Essentially, this is from the child welfare authorities, who in conjunction with the LA cops investigated the very allegation at the heart of this matter, that Jackson had molested the 13-year-old in question. And every one of the witnesses for the prosecution making the claim now against Jackson, the child's siblings, the child's mother, all denied to child welfare that Jackson did anything wrong. Andrew Goldberg is the SmokingGun.com reporter. Excellent job of investigative research there, buddy.
Thank you so much.
There's only 4 of you at the website?
There's 4 of us who do the website.
You cause no end of trouble for people around. But
when you have a small staff, you can really focus.
Well, this is. I want to know what your reaction was when this. I know. I assume you're not an attorney, but the language is pretty plain. What was your reaction when you uncovered it?
Oh, well, we were surprised. I mean, I don't know if you remember or not, but early in February we posted the declaration from the '93 case of the alleged victim, and that got a lot of feedback from people saying, you know, you're anti-Michael Jackson, anti-Michael Jackson. So later in the year, we get hold of this memo and we post that, and suddenly it's the other side. What are you in the pocket for Michael Jackson? What are you doing? What are you doing? But we thought it was a pretty devastating memo, and now it's a memo which there's clearly a big case file behind it, but it's a memo that, like you said, unfounded. It pretty clearly lays that out.
Unfounded is so clear. Would you?
And the other big case out in California, not Robert Blake, Michael Jackson. There's been a lot of legal maneuvering in his molestation case. Most recently, a motion filed by the prosecution to limit defense attempts to obtain information about the alleged victim and his family. Watch.
As you know, defense attorney Thomas Mesereau has repeatedly attacked the credibility of the boy's mother in court, saying that she's only in it for the money, and only brought these allegations to the authorities' attention after she failed to obtain hush money from the beleaguered king of pop.
Has that information?
Now the prosecutors are accusing the defense of being too aggressive and of abusing the judicial process. They're complaining to the court about what they call the sweeping demands by the defense for the financial and medical records of the alleged victim and his family. And indeed, Tom Mesereau has made broad requests for information he says he needs to back his vigorous attacks on the mom's credibility. But included in the pile of information requested by the defense are the gynecological records of the boy's controversial mother. And unless they know something about her that we don't, that one indeed might be over the top. But otherwise, talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Seldom, if ever in the annals of alleged crime and punishment, has a prosecutor been as aggressive and as excessive in his overuse of such investigatory tools as search warrants as in this case. Talk about fishing expeditions after asking for and receiving the highest bail ever imposed in a non-murder case, $3 million. District Attorney Tom Sneddon has mobilized perhaps the biggest prosecutorial team in his county's history. They have asked for and have received over 100 search warrants so far alone, asking for everything from Jackson's phone records and computer email. All that plus, remember, D.A. Sneddon, who postponed his own retirement to personally prosecute this case, himself conducted surveillance of potential witnesses, demonstrating a level of personal involvement unprecedented in Santa Barbara history.
The judge presiding over the case, Rodney Melville, is scheduled to hear this matter at a hearing in November 29th. The trial is still slated to begin early next year. And talk about kicking a guy when he's down. Jackson's just been sued again in the same week. An antiques and furniture store sued the pop star for allegedly failing to pay a nearly $180,000 bill. Marc Schaffel, a former business associate and well-known porn movie producer, is also suing Jackson, claiming that he's owed more than $3 million in loans and producing fees. The Schaffel lawsuit lists Jackson's requests for money, including $600,000 to buy a piece of jewelry for Elizabeth Taylor, to $1 million to pay the now-deceased actor Marlon Brando for appearing in a Jackson music video. The complaint in the lawsuit, which seems, I think, designed to embarrass Jackson as much as it does to set out a claim against him, also alleges that his need for cash increased as he sunk deeper into drugs and alcohol. Howard King is Marc Schaffel's attorney. Why'd you put that in there? Howard?
Well, listen, we wanted to put all the detail we had in that lawsuit so we wouldn't get the usual response that they can't prove this. We've got all of our facts in that lawsuit, and we can prove them.
But why go into alleged drug and alcohol abuse? What does that have to do with him owing your client money?
Right. Well, because my client is more than a creditor. He's not an antique store. He's a confidant who was there for 4 years for Michael, making money for Michael, loaning money to Michael, giving millions to Michael, and we wanted to put all the reasons in the complaint.
What do you think about that, Joe? Is that sincere?
Well, you know, Michael Jackson sued once a week, Geraldo. I'll tell you that from my involvement with the defense team and understanding. This guy is...
Yeah, you're representing one of the several of the so far unindicted co-conspirators.
Yes. And you know, I'll tell you that Marc Schaffel, when I don't wish to address his character right now, has some issues. And clearly there are people, a host of people who would line up behind Marc Schaffel and say, this guy has burned me and burned me before. But talk about cutting off your nose to spite your face, Geraldo. This lawsuit, to me, is asinine to bring at this point. Marc Schaffel is in danger. He's in danger because he's listed as an unindicted co-conspirator. For him to put in a suit over money that Michael Jackson sunk deeper into drugs and alcohol, which sort of lends credence to the mother, the accuser's mother's allegations in this case, imperils and endangers Marc Schaffel's liberty. And I just think, you know, when you're talking about money and you're filing a lawsuit like this, I think you really need to mark your steps before you realize how far down that path you're going. I think he's in trouble.
Well, listen, there's nothing but the truth in that lawsuit, and if Marc Schaffel ever testified, he would tell nothing but the truth. Is it a secret that Michael Jackson abuses drugs and alcohol? I think not to the district attorney.
Well, I think that's a serious fact in dispute. I think it may not be a secret to the district attorney, but the district attorney thinks a lot of things about Michael Jackson that will be disproven. But for Marc Schaffel to suggest that that's why he's in the dire straits that he's in now corroborates the accuser's mother in this case. And by the way, the accuser's mother in this case is pointing a deadly finger at Marc Schaffel, saying he was part and parcel in this conspiracy. So I don't think lending her any credibility at all when it comes to Michael Jackson serves Marc Schaffel well.
Before you respond, Howard, Gloria, where do you come down on this one?
Well, I mean, I think if Marc Schaffel has a legitimate claim, if in fact he can prove his claim, then he should be able to collect. It's a straight breach of contract case. Apparently, he alleges that he helped produce certain productions that were on Fox that basically were designed to help Michael Jackson rehabilitate his very damaged image after the Martin Bashir interview was aired. And he's alleging that he wasn't paid for some of that. Now, what complicates it is his involvement in the criminal case. I'm going to make a guess, and it's just a guess, but maybe an educated guess, that his civil attorney and his criminal attorney have probably spoken, and that the criminal attorney most likely gave the okay for the civil lawsuit to go forward and thinks that it's advantageous to his client to allow it to go forward.
Well, and Gloria, I would hope that this is not anything more than an extortion attempt, a legal extortion attempt, but an extortion attempt nonetheless to try and get Marc Schaffel's legal fees paid by filing a lawsuit against Michael saying, hey, I'm ready to be flipped. Unless you come clean with some money here, I'm going to be flipped.
Does he know anything?
I hope it's not
Does he
that.
know anything?
Well, you're going to have to ask Marc Schaffel's lawyers on Marc Schaffel that.
Howard, is Marc Schaffel threatening that if he doesn't get paid by Michael Jackson, he's going to flip and become a prosecution witness in the molestation case?
Absolutely not. This is a legitimate debt. I resent it being called legal extortion. This money is owed. It's documented. One thing you've not heard from the Jackson camp in the last week is a denial of the debt.
Okay.
Payments were made on the debt.
We'll watch.
It's owing.
We'll watch. Thank you all very much.